going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on into the Brass Ring Media Podcast, the free flagship edition of the show for Thursday, January 11th, 2024. I'm Zach Haydorn. That is Tyler Sage. Tyler, man, what's going on?
Okay, so it's a good day to talk wrestling.
Oh, my gosh.
I enjoyed the thumbnail you made. So, yeah, it's good stuff, and ready to talk about it.
I can't wait to talk about what we're going to talk about. We're going to hit a bunch of different topics today. We're going to start talking about Tony Khan versus Twitter. We are going to talk about the Young Bucks in their return to AEW last night on Dynamite, and also talk a little bit about the Royal Rumble and how that event and match is shaken out. So lots to get to. The chat is loading up here. Hello to Ryan, who's in there. From what I understand, Ryan, Tyler doesn't have a John Cena cutout, but a Seth Rollins cutout that he no longer has. So you're out of luck, my friend. I don't like to disappoint you, Ryan, but I have to today.
Yeah, I'm trying to look. I've got a signed Kenny Omega from ROH, 8x10 back here. I've got me dressed up as Macho Man for Halloween with my brother-in-law who was dressed as Hogan, so I'm the least problematic of the two characters in that capacity. But that's about the extent of my wrestling gear down here at the moment. Besides inventory.
Kenny Omega Ring of Honor 8x10 sign. That's pretty sweet. Pretty sweet.
Yeah. That was that event, and we're already derailing. There was a meet and greet beforehand. You could meet, everyone on the roster basically, but the lines, it was at a venue. It's now called Kemba Live in Columbus. It was called something else, but it's like an indoor-outdoor music venue. And the whole upper balcony was Kenny on one side and the Bucks on the other side, and that was like the lines forming. And I remember waiting in line. This is 2017 probably. Whenever like the peak, it was after the first Okada match, but and like you had to walk past all the ROH talent like on your way to pay Kenny or the Bucks to get their signature and photo op. And Hangman, like no one was in Hangman's line the entire time, and I was like, oh, poor Hangman. I remember saying that to my buddies. And he's now a staple world champion, etc. So so interesting times for sure.
No wonder where Heyman got his sad cowboy shtick from.
Yeah, he was living it that day for sure. Yeah, I gave him the little, but I didn't pay him anything. So I'm sure he's go after yourself. Sorry.
Well, guys, we have a lot to get to. Yeah, chat is great. Hello, Adam. Hello, Tracy. Hello, Zach. Hello, Sean. Hello, everybody else. This is our free podcast of the week for right now. Wink, wink. Maybe some more news to come on that soon, but we're live every Thursday afternoon talking with you on all the big stories in professional wrestling, and we're thrilled to be here today. Again, we got a lot of great topics. You can subscribe to our channel right here for free. Hit the notification button so you know when we go live. You can also engage with our work for free over at Substack and read some of our weekly columns on the old crazy world of professional wrestling. If you want to take things to the next level, become a Brass Ring Media member. We have membership opportunities available. It's $4, and for $4 you get all the content that we do on Substack. You get this podcast, you get a members only podcast, you get pay-per-view and major show review episodes of the podcast, and access to our Discord community. So look, every reason to give us a shot, and we'll do all we can to earn your business. $4. You can find us on patreon.com/Brass Ring Media. Also, excited to announce that we have been able to monetize the channel for the first time ever. So thank you guys for listening and for watching the content. It's really helped us out, and we can now continue to build this thing with you and get bigger and bigger. Super chats are open, and Tyler and myself, we will take all questions. We will take all comments. If you are willing to participate via super chat, we definitely would appreciate it. Any little bit helps us out and helps us keep the show going for free each and every single week. Again, we really would appreciate it, and thank you in advance.
And if I can say something about that, you're the modest one of the two of us, I would say. And yes, all questions, Ryan. I see that there. And this is not shade at where we were at previously, SE Scoops or PW Torch. Like both, especially PW Torch, made you and I both like what we are today. So hopefully that's never been an issue for anyone that's watching. If you're new,
Yes.
that's where we came from. Definitely give them a look. Wade's reporting is still second to none. Great team over there. I know Sean does work over there, who's on the chat right now, amongst other people who are part of our group. So, but we did, but we did get monetized faster here than we did over at at that platform. Scoops is already monetized. So that's thanks to you guys following us, making this happen. Cannot believe it. When Zach sent me the message, what was it, early this week, like Monday or like Friday of last week, something like that.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it. So it's like it's awesome. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, we do appreciate it, guys, and yeah, thanks in advance for the support. Yeah, Ryan, all questions, but you might not like the answers we give, but we'll take all questions for sure.
Yeah, like, what do you think about Aaron Rodgers, guys? I don't know. I can do that for an hour.
That's a whole nother
that's
I need a whole nother platform for that. A whole nother platform. All right, let's get into the wrestling talk here. Look, Tony Khan, he loves his phone. He loves his phone. He loves the old Twitter machine. This isn't the first time we've seen Tony Khan kind of lose it on social media, but it was one of the more bizarre times, just given the topic at hand and what he was debating and with whom. So, quick backstory, and I'm going to be brief on purpose, just because if you want to find it, you can go on Twitter and find the full thing. But basically, Tony Khan thought AEW was getting some unfair treatment on social media and other places because of a match that he booked. He books Hook versus Samoa Joe in a title match. Everybody apparently loses their minds. WWE books Jinder Mahal versus Seth Rollins in a title match, and nobody says anything, according to Tony Khan. And there you go. So that's the story in a nutshell. But then he went back and forth with people on Twitter. He went back and forth with Eric Bischoff on Twitter. He's dropping weird GIFs and weird memes. It was quite the show on Tuesday afternoon. Tyler, man, I mean, I know I don't need to ask you, hey, what's your opinion on this? But when you see that this time again more from him here, I mean, does it tell you anything new about kind of his mindset, his his ability to run a major $1 million company on his own? What say you? What was going through your mind when you're seeing this kind of cross your feed on Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, more of the same. Like, it's kind of like we're in. I wonder if you could track like how often this happens. Is it every like 3 months? Is it every 6 weeks? I have to get out my red yarn to tie these threads together on my what am I looking for? The thing you push pin in. Cork board for my conspiracy theories about Tony Khan. Sorry, that was rough. So, but yes, nothing really changed. Just like it's more of the same. And I saw the posts on like Squared Circle or stuff, but I avoided it. I didn't think I saw them live. And I have my feed whenever I'm on Twitter to current, not who I follow, which is a much better way to do that. I think that everyone should do that if they're on that at all. But yeah, just more of the same. Not surprised. If you told me this, I would totally believe it without looking it up. So, that's its own can of worms that we've already opened and dumped. It just, tells you what it is. It fuels, not even this one, but the past instances of this fuel my opinions of him as a leader of a company. If he's just the booker and someone else takes like a forefront on things like this, it's like a completely different story. And that's what you and I have advocated for, of people being like used in the best way possible, right? Like out of the two of us, like we each have different skill sets that we do here at Brass Ring, right? That we focus on. You do all the reads at the top without reading anything, and I'm like, hey guys, here's a peace sign while Zach's doing that, right? So like that's our skill sets. And Tony Khan, I think, is a pretty good booker when given the opportunity to focus on that for a 2-hour program a week, right? Back in the day, those Dynamite shows were, just awesome, especially during the pandemic. It was like, hey, I lived my life like Dynamite to Dynamite because they were so good and WWE product was so bad. So there is that quality there. But yeah, it doesn't change anything about how I would think he is as a boss, as a business leader, if I'm from Warner Brothers Discovery, etc. So yeah, and I know Zach had a very good super chat that when we get to it, I have a lot to say since I live in Ohio.
I really I thought this Twitter rant by Tony Khan was like more obnoxious than usual. I really just like, you're not the victim. He's not a victim here. He's got a wrestling promotion and you put out matches and whatever happens after that happens. Like people like it, people don't like it. That's going to happen no matter what match you book. He could put Kenny Omega on versus Okada on television Saturday night, and somebody is going to have a negative opinion on it. Like, you just have to have thicker skin, period. Like, to run a business and run a promotion in professional wrestling. And so it's like, I just look at that and I'm like, man, like, you don't get it. You're not understanding what's happening here. And it's just, I don't know. It just really was annoying to me this go around. Obviously, everything still stays as far as like, yes, should he have more things to do? Absolutely. Does he need a filter? Yes. Can a PR team get involved here? That would help. But he's not helping his shows here. That was my ultimate takeaway. And I was on with Jason Powell yesterday, and I'll reiterate here what I said. Like, I think if you lean into that type of conversation and those type of antics and that type of back and forth, and you want, and like your reasoning to do it is because, hey, like, we're just promoting our show. It's like, first of all, you don't trust your show when that's happening. And second of all, you get people that ultimately tune in for the wrong reason. They tune in to see like the crazy, TMZ output instead of like a good wrestling show, and with narrative and with a story and all those things that we talk about that AEW is missing. And I just think that the more Tony Khan plays into that, the more he's going to get out the same type of response. And that only goes so far. Like, you can only take that so far. Like, it's like a one-hit wonder gimmick, like the Acclaimed. Like, it only goes a certain distance, like R-Truth in WWE. Like, you can only get so far with it. Rusev Day, you can only get so far. And the same thing is here. And so like, he totally plays into like his super base and renders everything else like pretty darn useless. And I think it's just it's a bad thing to feed, to feed your show and to feed your product and to prop your product up on. It just I think you're getting the wrong thing out of that, and you think you're not, but you really are. Not to mention, the other product is way stronger than your product right now. And that, I think you can be kind of like the Punk, number 2 playing from behind guy, when number 1 is kind of, they're flailing or they're a little bit weaker, but you don't, can't go after like, after that person or that group in the same way when they're clicking on all cylinders. I think it just makes you look really, really, really silly.
Yeah. And what, I agree with everything you've just said. Two things come to mind of this, right? Like, if you're trying to, let's say we're trying to be productive on this. If, let's say you and I work for AEW, we do not. We would disclose it to you guys if we did. Probably wouldn't be able to do the show. But if I had some say to Tony Khan, I would say, like, if you're going to keep this up, which you are, like, I don't think anyone's going to be able to tell him to stop doing stuff like this. Like, he needs to be, in my opinion, a character on TV. Like, is that good for the TV product? Probably not, but like, it makes more sense if he's like this guy on the television product. Like the fact that he's more buttoned up from 8 to 10, 2 nights a week, and the rest of the time is less buttoned up is kind of the inverse of what should be happening, right? Like if you're going to be a character, I don't know. It is at this point, like be some version of yourself that you can then bring to Twitter and it's more of a story, right? But if you pull back and like look at leaders of anything, right? Let's take, leaders of companies, let's say like a GM or a coach or an owner of a sports team, a showrunner for a television show you like. If any of those people acted this sort of way, and I'm sure people are going to drop comments in here of people that have done it, I can almost guarantee you it's always been to the detriment of the thing they owned or the thing they produced or the thing they created. And, like any example is, I don't know, Jerry Jones comes to mind. And I'm not saying that Tony Khan and him are similar, even though they both own football teams, they're both billionaires, and they both are lovers of antics, I would say, in a nice way. They enjoy the same extracurricular activities as being billionaires. So, is that normally a good thing, or is it a bad thing when if the Cowboys lose on Saturday to the Packers, and on the radio show this week he said that his coaches will probably get fired if he loses this playoff game, right? Like, it might be true, but is airing that in public really good for the team? I would say no if I was a Cowboys fan. Thankfully, I'm not. But it is what it is. A showrunner, right? If oh man, who wrote The Sopranos? I cannot think of it right now.
I don't know.
It's David something, I think. Anyway, let's say like the finale of The Sopranos is happening and everyone hates, spoiler alert, what happened there. I won't say it, I guess, if you haven't watched it. But like, let's say he's like live tweeting like, hey, you were all stupid and you didn't get what I was trying to get. So you're dumb fans and I hate you, right? I'm not saying it's what Tony Khan's doing here. But it's some version of that, and that's just not helping the product itself, right? So be a character, Tony. Just be this character on TV. It'll be funny. You'll be our truth. Whatever. Be McMahon without the N-word in 2004.
I don't know that I can second Tony Khan being on TV, man. I mean, you're right. You're right.
It's the best of a bad situation, in my opinion.
It plays better there, but boy, oh boy, that doesn't sell you. That doesn't scream from the mountaintop that we're in a good place with our wrestling show. I'm going to pull up some of our chats here that are coming in. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Zach, I'm going to get to yours in a minute. But we'll start with Matt. Matt goes, I love Tony's X antics. Not any different than the WCW, WWE class, just in a different context. If anything, the Monday Night Wars were worse. Controversy creates cash. Here's how I would respond to that, Matt. Like, God, I mean, I'm going to sound like Eric Bischoff here, and I really don't want to, but I'm going to, because I think in this context, he's right. They were actually competing with one another. Like, they were actually going head to head with one another. It was like, I'm going to reveal their results on TV live to hurt them because they're going to be on the air at the exact same time. This is silly, like, creative stuff. You didn't have Eric Bischoff. Now, granted, like, maybe he would have if Twitter existed back then, but he didn't get on the air and like go, boy, Steve Austin really didn't earn that title shot. It didn't make sense from a storyline perspective. And I don't know, I get crap for that all the time. Like, I think it's like totally like apples and oranges. There's a difference in, two businesses competing with one another and petty nonsense on social media. So if you like Tony's antics, that's great. And that's totally your prerogative, Matt. And I'm glad you spoke up. But I think, when I look at that, I'm just like, it's really not the same thing, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we talked about Hook being a person going for the title last week on the show, but I can't remember if we even talked about it. Like, how long do we talk about it? It was like a news hit, maybe like 5 minutes.
If that.
Yeah. So, gender, we probably would have talked about it this week. If this, as like hey, look at these two bad people going for the title. But like, it is what it is. Like, it's the first time going for the title. Like, The gender one is worse, honestly, if you compare the two, right? Because
Oh yeah,
in the grand scheme of things. So, but this now takes all the any sort of critique that you and I would have about the two of hey, if you had to choose a world title match to watch in the next 3 weeks, I mean, probably the Roman 4-way, but the second would be the Joe and Hook match, and the third would be Seth and Jinder, right? So now that critique is out the window because now we're all just talking about Tony Khan. And
and not to mention,
that.
I just didn't think there was very much backlash against the Hook Joe match to begin with, or a lot of praise for the Jinder Seth match. So it's the rant was just totally unwarranted.
Who's he tweeting
sides.
to? Did you say that? I don't know.
It was to the USA Network account.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's worse, that or a wrestling fan 123.47221ABCDQRX123. I don't know. They're both sad
for sure.
Yeah. Because one's like a bot, and the other one is a bot as well, just a corporate bot. So yeah.
At least you are speaking into the ether when you're responding to the bot. But yeah, I mean, it's just Matt. Thank you for I'm assuming you're talking about us, or at least that's the spin I'm going to put on this. So I do appreciate it, Matt. The best wrestling show. I will take that to the bank. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. Let's go. We got a couple more topics on this, and then we're going to pivot into a super chat from Sean on last night's Dynamite. Zach, thank you, Zach, and thank you, Matt, for the contribution. We very much appreciate it. It helps us out so much, guys, and so thank you. Zach says, so Mark Cuban dismantled JD Vance on Twitter, but Tony Khan isn't allowed to express an opinion without ranting. I mean, I don't think either of them should. I don't see why kind of critiquing Tony Khan for this means that I'm giving Mark Cuban a pass. I'm certainly not. I think it's silly for both of them to. If Tyler were going back and forth with bot A3546 on Twitter, I'd be like, yo, Tyler, man, give it a rest. It's silly. So it doesn't make sense for anybody to do this. I would not put Tony Khan in the same category as Mark Cuban, though, either. I mean, Tony Khan is a struggling product. He, is still trying to make AEW, a healthy and strong business. I mean, Cuban is kind of he's done his thing, he's to me, he's in a category of well, I guess this guy's just going to do what he wants. And that's that. And Tony Khan, I don't know. He doesn't have the same clout yet. At least that's my opinion. But the end game is nobody should be doing this kind of thing. Tyler?
Yeah. I mean, I think Mark Cuban, he doesn't own the team anymore. I don't know I'm sure Zach knows that. So it's the Adelsons, the big casino family, where he has some control still, but doesn't. It's a whole thing. But I would say in the tenure of his run, right, if you're a Mavericks fan only, he brought one title, but I think his antics, if you're going to compare the two, compare contrast, I think that's what Zach is doing here. Let me know if I'm wrong, Zach. But I think there were other titles to win, and I don't think you lost talent along the way, but I think there were people, I don't think it necessarily helped the Dallas Mavericks what Mark Cuban was doing. It certainly didn't help Mark Cuban because he wanted to buy the Cubs. He had the money to do it. In MLB, all the owners voted him not to own a baseball team because of his quote-unquote antics back in the mid-2000s. So it certainly didn't help Mark Cuban because he would love to own the Cubs way more than he wanted to own the Mavs. I can guarantee you that, as being a guy that went to Indiana University. Definitely a Cubs fan. So, but I just, it's one of those things where I would prefer my owner to be unknown and spend a lot of money, right? That's like the perfect owner in sports. Your Chicago Bears have owners that you don't talk, but don't spend any money, right? So
they're the worst of both worlds.
Yeah. And then the JD Vance thing, I live in Ohio, so I'm one of his constituents. JD Vance is a senator from Ohio, as Zach just dropped in the chat. So I'll leave that there. I think Zach and I's leanings politically are known. If not, that's great. We're here to talk about wrestling. I hope we cover all people on all bits, because that's kind of what makes it fun, just like wrestling, right? Not that left and right is AEW, WWE, but we all kind of do that as people, so it's kind of fun to do that. So But Mark Cuban was going to run for president, or said he was, or has kind of alluded to it, kind of like The Rock, right? It's a good way to stay in the zeitgeist.
Testing the waters.
So him like taking out JD Vance as like a centrist is what he's doing. Is just different than the USA account, right? Like one could actually be kind of important if you think about it, and the other one is, USA Network Twitter account and Tony Khan, right, which isn't as
exactly.
So
exactly. Matt chiming in again. Thank you, Zach. It's a good topic. Good topic, and certainly a way to kind of defend it. Dana White, Vince McMahon. Why do we expect billionaires to be clean cut and buttoned up? I think Tony should talk that talk. Viva la Khan. Matt,
watch out. There might be on Pro or not on Shop AEW. There might be a Viva la Khan shirt.
As a shirt
if it is Matt, you better get a royalty check.
Yes. Hopefully the commissions roll in on that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I think it's just silly. Like I mean, look, these guys can do whatever they want. They do. To me, it's still different with Tony Khan. Like Vince McMahon didn't do much of this at all. He would not be on Twitter debating, with fans. That just, I don't think would happen. Dana White, like that's a part of the UFC. That like interaction, the brash Dana White is like in the fabric of the UFC. Tony Khan and AEW is still figuring that out. They're still figuring out what they want to be. And and maybe it's just Tony, and maybe it's just, Tony comes across as a lot more whiny than Dana does. I don't agree with 95% of what Dana White says. It's not as whiny to me as Tony Khan. So that's how I would look at that. And Matt also says people think billionaires should act better, but who called that? Tony is the most harmless of all the billionaires. He tweets, Vince and Dana abused. Hey, look.
Yeah, certainly are. Definitely, there's lists that might have billionaires on them, etc. So all that sort of stuff. How many billionaires do you think are in the world, Zach? I looked it up. You can do your point, but I looked it up because I was interested.
Oh God, man, I don't know. I have absolutely no clue how to answer it. How many?
This is per Google, so it's probably, give or take a couple hundred, but 3,194 billionaires in the world. So I would say most of them are buttoned up from a statistical standpoint. But if we know about them, they're probably not buttoned up because they're larger-than-life personalities that did what it took to become billionaires. So there you go.
And also, like Matt, too, I want to make sure to put this out there. Like, we are not I am not sitting here going, well, Tony's just as bad as Vince and Dana because of, it's not comparing the two. I mean, Vince and Dana have done some bad things. Dana on camera, Vince, we know those stories. It's not, I'm not comparing like negative antics. It's just like, I'm talking about this particular situation specifically. So that's, I hope he just wraps it up. Like, he's above that. He's got other things to do. He's got a company that needs him to focus. And it's just, to me, it's annoying. It's annoying at best. Zach, the USA Network account came for Tony. They did. They got him too. All right. Let's move on to some subjects. You guys have dropped some really good stuff in our super chat, and we appreciate that. Super chats are open for everybody who's joining us live. In addition to our normal chat, we'll get to every super chat on the show. Let's start. We'll go to Sean, and we'll change directions here. What did you guys think of the 8-person tag matches last night on AEW Dynamite? I know why they did it, but the matches just felt so random. Tyler, you first.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should have almost. I mean, they're in Daly's place. It's called Homecoming, right? I don't know how you market that you're going to do kind of a throwback to early AEW and the way it was booked with an 8-man tag match to start the show and kind of a bunch of people you've never heard of or don't really know as much. And they have matches. You have a couple stars coming through. It was definitely built like a pandemic era show, an early AEW show. And, that's why they did it. I mean, especially in the women's, I didn't dislike having an 8-person tag match in the women's division because it got all your top level women's performers on the show, which is is that the first time they've done something like that? Where
it's been a while.
They've had tag matches, but literally hey, here's like our upper mid card and top level stars within AEW in our division. And you're all going to see them this week on TV. So I like that aspect of it. It did, scratch that kind of random itch for that audience, but I didn't think it was too bad. I knew it as a fan, but that's like the problem with a lot of things we talk about AEW storytelling wise is like you kind of got to know to know. And if you don't know, you don't know what you don't know, right? So I can see the issues people would have with it, but for 5 hours of content a week, having a couple 8-person tag matches, I don't think it's the end of the world, and they'll probably go away from it, but it was fine.
I mean, I liked the matches, to be honest. I thought the matches themselves were good. They were super random to me too, and it kind of felt weird for Adam Copeland to be in one of them. Like it's just like what? Like I mean, like Orange Cassidy, like he's always in those kind of matches.
Yeah.
Copeland is like, I don't know, man. Like he's like a different level guy. So like, I think in each match there were talents that just kind of like, that's weird. I think that like the point of these, in addition to feeling like not pandemic here, but like Daly's play style matches, was to pay tribute to Brody Lee. But they didn't make that very clear. Like I think that if that was the point, like you wanted to you should have probably called them like Brody Lee Memorial tag matches or something to that effect, because Preston Vance got the finish in his and Anna Jay got the finish in hers, so like that kind of like ties everything together, but like they really weren't promoted and hyped that way. So I look, Sean, I mean, you hit the nail on the head for my issues with the WWE or with AEW product for months, which is like a lack of context. And you jump in here again and you say that exact same thing. I just want some context. Where's Rose a bit? And that's the thing. I think in this case, because there was no context around it, like you really needed to define like why are these matches happening. And in this case, it was because of Homecoming and it was because of Brody Lee. I don't think they threaded that needle very well, for as good as I thought the matches were, and I thought they were both, fun watches.
Yeah, and adding to the question of context, like how long has Preston Vance been with? Was it with Dustin, or what was the story there?
Dude, I asked the same question. Everybody knows, like, drop it in the chat, the live chat here, and we'll, I mean, it just felt so weird. Like I was like, who's this guy?
Because Roosh is still there, and I know he's with Andrade more so, and Andrade's gone, but I think him and Roosh could be a pretty fun tag team. So whatever. Not that I'm caring too much about Preston Vance, if I'm being honest with you. So, but there's just like another example of that, right? And like Thunder Rosa, as Sean is asking, like I think that happened on a Collision. 2 weeks ago she came out. Okay, because like. My dumb brain, and I'll just speak for me here, like WWE has kind of destroyed my ability to, if the shows are not like different rosters and different style of setup, it's hard for me to like differentiate what happens on Dynamite and Collision, especially if I watch both like live. They both kind of merge together that week, as I get farther away. We're supposed to Raw or SmackDown, I know, because they're different rosters and one's blue, one's red. I know it's stupid, but like it helps in my brain to compartmentalize it of like what happened when. So, that's a whole other thing.
And it's an issue. It's an issue because like that didn't happen all that long ago. And not only did Thunder Rosa make a return, she had a match on Collision too the following week. So,
her and Abaddon, right? Took on.
Yes.
Sky Blue and Sky Black and Julia Hart.
Yes. So it's like, that's
I watch.
It's a bit of a miss. It's like, but not a lot of people are watching that show, man. I mean, it's dangerously close to dropping below 400,000, below 400,000. Easy for me to say, but yeah, I mean, the product needs context. Period. In terms of let's go to a different another AEW topic here. We'll go back to Zach because this was like on my mind after the show. last night. And thanks, Sean, for the super chat. I know you got another one in there, and we'll make sure to get to that. Zach chiming in here. So yeah, on the Sting spot, it was dangerous. But how do you tell Sting no at this point? Dude, you just tell him no. You're the boss. You're the boss. And not only like are you the boss, but you have a major show coming up on the back of that guy. Like, why are you doing stuff off of a balcony at 64 years old? Weeks before you have a huge retirement match planned and a retirement show planned. It's just like, even if like you don't care about Sting's well-being at all, and you're like Vince McMahon and all you care about is the business, like, you still shouldn't be doing that, because you're risking like your big main event when you do that. That bump looked like it hurt like hell. Like, you missed the first table. I don't know how many times AEW is going to do a table spot like that and miss the first table. Like, move the thing back. But you did. He hit hard, and it felt like it stunned him. Reports coming in indicate he was fine, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to have an impact on your 64-year-old body. So yeah, it was dangerous. It was stupid. Like, it's not even what, Wade and his co-host on the post show last night was talking about. That like this kind of crazy stunt bump stuff is not even what like got Sting over. It's not why people are drawn to Sting. It's all very, very silly. And I don't see any need for it. So that's what I would do, Zach. I would just straight up say, like, sorry. You can do a lot of things, but you're not going to do that. Maybe you could do it on the pay-per-view. We'll think about it, but not now. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Like, Tony Khan probably was as surprised as not as surprised. Like, we could have all guessed that would have happened, but that spot, I doubt they went over with Tony like, "Hey, I'm going to do the spot. Is that cool, boss?" I just don't think that is like the relationship in AEW, for better or for worse, right? So, And at this point, especially if you're Tony, like, you almost can't say no because you let him do whatever he wants relatively. I think Tony does the way he doesn't book him a lot because he knows it's going to happen is his way. Like, if I had to analyze Tony as a boss, it's the reason why we haven't gotten like the tour of Sting here in the last couple of weeks and months since he's announced. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But one thing from that match, I mean, so Sting is 64 and Flair is what, 73? I don't know if he is off top of my head.
Wait, who?
Ric Flair is like 73.
Yes.
So obviously one almost died and the other one hasn't. But like the difference in like a couple years and like the lives they've lived, like Flair could barely like walk in that ring, like, and getting in and out. I was like, I hope they don't accidentally bump him, because like he's gonna die if he gets hit at all. Because like Darby's doing like the, his missile spot, and I was like, just you're real close to Rick. Just like the difference in a couple of years is like stunning to me of those two guys. But
and Flair, I mean, he's got other issues.
And the chops. I mean, yikes! What are we doing? Like,
yeah. I don't know, Tracy. Tracy comes in here to say, just say no to age discrimination. I hope that's not what we're like advocating for. I don't think Sting should be left off the show. I just think, look, to me, like big stunt bump stuff like that, it's not even. I mean, in this case, it was a nice thing for me. I'm like, dude, that guy's 65 years old. Like, he should not be taking that bump. I'm almost 40. I'm not taking that bump. But like, really, if you think about it, if you break it down, it's like that is a random throwaway tag team main event on a television show. Nobody should be taking that bump in a match like that on that show, with those stakes on the line. I mean, it's just not like good business for your body. It's not smart as a performer. It's not how you get longevity, out of your career. So I don't think that, like, in this case, yeah, definitely my mindset is Sting, no. Ric Flair, no. But like, if Sammy Guevara did like a Spanish fly off the top of the stage through a table and hurt himself, it's like my opinion would be the same. Like it'd be a little bit less impact.
What a
Well, I mean, yes,
I'm just
it
trying to
would.
get you. I'm trying to get you in trouble here. So get someone to clip
Yes,
this and have.
gonna clip it. Guy on Brass String Media wants Sammy Guevara to get hurt. No, it's just like there's a time and a place for that stuff, and I for Sting I think it's never, but for even for others it's like you got to be smart. Like Darby, I would say the same thing to Darby. Like, dude, this is a TV match on Dynamite with like almost no build. Like, you don't need to be taking a German suplex directly on your neck
Yeah,
for the second week in a row. Like, dear God, it was crazy. Going back to Zach here.
And Hobbs, before we do it, like you don't want to throw Hobbs on his head off the balcony where he missed. He's the one that missed that table more than Sting, I felt like.
But that too,
So,
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, I didn't even think about poor Hobbs in that whole deal. Yeah, for sure. And Zach pushing back here. Good for you, Zach. Sting, though, isn't he owed some deference at this point, given the age and decades he put into the business? Yeah, to a point. Yeah, he is. But some like wrestlers, like fighters, you gotta sometimes protect them from themselves. And like with Ric Flair, has given a lot to the business too. But if I'm Tony Khan, I'm certainly not going to have him wrestle a match just because he wants to. It's just you can't do that. He can't wrestle a match, and so if he can't figure that out for himself, like then you got to make that call for him. It's like somebody like if somebody had a broken leg and they're like, no, I can go. It's like, no, you can't go. You have a broken leg, so you can't go. Sorry about that, but you can't. I don't see any problem with like laying down the law in that way. I really don't. Am I off base here, Tyler? I mean, you got to give some deference on things, and I would do it for like, I want to try this move, or I want the promo to sound this way, or can my T-shirts look like this? Like, but big stuff like this, like I don't know. I think you got to do something to protect your wrestlers there.
Yeah, I mean, two minds of this, right? Is like, how have you treated them up to this point? And Tony Khan's obviously let them, Darby included, do whatever he wants, right? So it's like to pull it back now, I think as a boss is not the way to do it. Tough. If you've already given them. But, yeah, I mean, if you want to look out for your wrestlers, it's hard to be on the other side as well.
And it's not to say you can't change. I mean, all of a sudden you could just decide, nope, you know what? I am going to be more nitpicky now on the stuff that we do. Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge issue for me. I'm pretty neutral on it, I guess. Like, this is not something I've thought about until we talked about it here. But, it's one of those things. It's like, think again, like the correlation to sports, right? Like we all have our favorite teams, and some people on those teams are way more injury prone than others. Like two people can take the same hit in football on your team, and like that person's getting up and that person's not. And Sting just happens to be that person that always gets up, right? More so than, I don't know who's injured a lot in AEW. Bryan Danielson, right? Like I think Sting's more hardy than Bryan Danielson, right? If you had to put the two together. And so it's like, I'm not advocating for either, but it's like if Sting and Bryan Danielson came up to me and wanted to do the same spot and I had to choose one, like I'd probably be like, all right, Sting, go for it, buddy. Like if you had to choose, right? And that's not what this is, but it's one of those things of like, I think you would agree that like he seems to be less likely to hurt himself. And I assume he's gotten a hip and knee replacement. Maybe those things are just titanium and you don't have to worry about it all about that thing. And he's basically the, $350,000 man below the waist. So maybe you can take all those bumps and it doesn't matter. So I don't know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe, yeah. I mean, sure. Like you're not wrong. I mean, some stuff Danielson does, I have the same reaction to. I'm like, what? Really? You're doing this? Why are we doing this? Adam, jumping in on the topic here. Thank you, Adam, and thank you, Tracy, as well. Tracy, big supporter, and we appreciate it. So thank you, Adam, you too, and everybody. Thank you. Adam says there's too many risky spots on TV, period. They should be saved for big shows. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, I think it's just like the business of that is important to remember. it's a little bit more difficult. I don't want to come across as too old school because there's a element of pro wrestling now that's very much look at this, look at me, look at this, look what I did, aspect to it. So I don't want to be all, get off my lawn with it, but like, you do want to save that stuff for when you really, really need it. And I just don't think this match, needed it with Sting. Matt, I'm going to get to your TNA tweet in a minute here. I cannot wait to discuss that. We'll jump back so that we stay with Dynamite here, and then we'll go to WWE, and we'll close up with some TNA, a quick TNA a topic. Sean, bringing up the Adam Cole promo with Undisputed Kingdom last night. I did not like Cole's follow-up promo last night, Sean says. It just felt the same as last week, and the other guys just don't feel important. Cole needs to gloat. Tyler, what did you think of the follow-up to Adam Cole and to Sean's point here? Were you up on it, down on it, just kind of the same? It's all flat. Where are you at?
Yeah, ever since I've not done a live written report for Dynamite, I would say my attention to the show, just in general, not anything bad, has gone from like 101% to like 87%, right? Mm-hmm. But I swore to you that I thought like a recording of last week's episode started playing somehow on my TV. And like after the promo, I was like, hold on. I swear to God I've heard this, like verbatim almost. So yeah, that I think is a critique. All the other critiques you and I have had for a long time, if you're new to the show, I'll sum up mine. That I just like, I think Adam Cole can work as a heel. Obviously did a great in NXT, but just the guys around him, it just feels so like Mr. Brody Lee to bring him up, right? Like he probably would have been like, it's like a weird hypothetical, but like, do you think Brody Lee would have been a world champion in AEW? Or would he have been like the Undertaker where he just has big matches and like doesn't win the title?
Yeah, I don't think he would have been a world title guy.
Yeah. So like, that's kind of the level Cole feels of like you have like blood feuds with this guy, but like I don't know if he's like slated for bigger things. Like we saw Swerve, and I guess maybe we'll talk about that on the Paige show. I'd like to talk about that with Paige and Swerve and Joe, but it's actually like that on the show. But yeah, I just it just feels mid card, like upper mid card, sure, but like is that group going to be in Blood and Guts? Sure, why not? But like, is that like what you wanted out of all this? Like, probably not. And again, I'm going to keep floating it. Like, I think if he cuts all his friends out, starting with MJF, and has this super group of all the up and comers, and like, I think he keeps Wardlow because Wardlow's like not his friend, right? He's his muscle. So you keep Wardlow, but you drop the Kingdom and you drop Roddy. You kind of do what you will with them. I think they could come and like help MJF and be like, not Pinnacle too, but you can do some fun stuff and not cut them out completely of the company. But it's just like there's so much more potential for Cole being the leader of this badass group, and it's just not happening. And it doesn't feel like there's much trajectory there, and it feels like they're spinning their wheels until Cole can wrestle. And in the meantime, it's just not working. So when he wrestles and when he can like get in physical combat with somebody, I'm open to change my opinion, but right now it's not working.
I have pretty much the same sentiment as you. I liked it a little bit better than last week because I just thought the delivery was better. It was more concise. It didn't like drop in like direct elements of dissension between Wardlow and Cole already. So I think it was better than last week, Sean. But I mean, I had the same issues that you do and the same issues that Tyler just outlined. Like it felt very much the same, almost like a do-over. Like he felt like he needed to like redo redo the promo. But I think he just has a really hard, like a really steep hill to climb due to the fact that he's surrounded by guys that are that need to be elevated by Cole. And I think it's just hard for him to do that right now because he can't really be active. Like he can cut the promos, but he can't wrestle. He can't get in the ring. He can't participate in attacks. Like, I think that like, unfortunately, like this group is like neutered already. Like they don't have an edge. I mean, I was a big proponent of coming out of World's End, like that they need a big angle. Like, and that's why I didn't like the show a couple weeks ago. Like, I think they needed a big angle to establish themselves. And this promo, it establishes them. Like, it checks the box of like, hey, we're gonna go out there and establish ourselves now. Check. Mission statement. Check. That's important. And sometimes, frankly, that's not in AEW, canon enough. But these guys needed more, man. I mean, you put months into this story, like, and so to just treat them like, like the what was like the firm, when they came around, like, it's just it's not at the right level right now, and I don't think it's clicking. He got some booze, so I don't want to like take that away. He was able to generate some heat, but it didn't come across to me like it's very like main event right now. So I'm definitely in wait and see mode on this, but they have a steep hill to climb, without question. We want to go to Matt here because Matt brought up the Small Joe promo, which was another big part of AEW Dynamite last night. Joe finally gets some time to get in the ring, cut a promo on being the champion and what his title reign is going to be about. Matt says here, Joe feels main event. Nothing's forced. He's natural. I really like this promo from Joe. I thought it was really just compelling on multiple levels. Like, for one thing, he owned the ring from like being a star perspective, but he also presented as a champion. Like, when he walked out there, like, it seemed like if you knew Joe or you don't, like, he came across as like the big, like the biggest star on the show. Like, and he had the world title. And I think that there's something inherent in organizing your show that way that makes everything else fall in place. Like, I think like establishing Joe the way that they did, and then going to Swerve, and then going to Page, and then going to Hook, as they were like walking out, like that worked, and that helped those three guys. So I really liked what they did here. I'm going to pivot quickly to Zach because he is talking about the championship committee. Zach says, thoughts on the championship committee? It gave nostalgic early 90s WCW vibes. Can it be used effectively to determine title challengers? If they stick with it, yes, I think it can. I don't think you have to constantly do callbacks to 90s WCW. Tony Khan loves it. Absolutely loves that time period. He loves the callbacks. But in this case, when Joe is referencing that, it felt like something real. It felt like, a group that he's attached to because he's the champion. And so as long as they stick with that narrative, I think having like a committee that's tasked with and referenced as, the place and the group of people that are going to determine title shots, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's good booking. It puts like the decision on someone within the story of AEW and not like Tony Khan behind the scenes. So Zach, I think it can work. I think it can definitely work. And I think Joe framed it up really well in his promo last night. So Tyler, take Joe, in his first in-ring appearance since becoming champion, and then loop in your thoughts on the championship committee as well.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, you have a veteran who's been around the block, who's good on promos, good in the ring as champion, helps everything kind of settle down. So I like that. I like the cavalcade of opponents. Two faces, one guy who is a face but is presented as a heel, right? So it's kind of the inverse of the traditional of all the, baby faces chasing the heel, right? So, it's all there. So that's good, right? That's all kind of Wrestling 101 that you and I like. So that's positive. And then the committee, it's better than the ranking system, the way AEW had to book matches to get there. And it's way better, in my opinion, than a general manager who eventually gets stale and you have to switch out. So I think it's, the best of those options presented. I would like to not know who's on the committee because then that becomes storyline of people intimidating those members to get title shots, etc. So
we don't need to know. We don't need to know.
If it's some amorphous group in the shadows, that's better because that's, essentially like WWE 5 years ago. It's just someone comes out and says, "Hey, I got you," at the Rumble or whatever. I'm challenging you and they accept, right? That's the same thing, but you can do it in a context that has a little bit more of a sports feel. So I like that and hope they can keep with it.
Yeah, I know that the kind of the walkout and like declare your shot is like a tried, and like maybe even overdone trope of like pro wrestling. I mean, you pull up a wrestling show on the WWE network on Peacock, and like 80% of the time you're gonna get something like that to start Raw from about 1997 to like 2004. And so like it could be overdone, but here like AEW doesn't do it too much. They don't, and so it really worked here to define what you and I've been talking about for a while, which is like who are the top guys? Who are the top guys going after the title? In this case, right now, it's Page, it's Swerve, it's Hook, and then I guess it's Wardlow, and Adam Cole, who kind of addressed that in a different setting. Didn't love that. I thought Wardlow should have probably been out there, but hey, he did it, and that's important. So yeah, I think this is a good way to tell your audience these are our top guys. Like these are the guys you pay attention to. I think there's some interesting omissions there, like Adam Copeland not involved. Like obviously Kenny Omega's not there. John Moxley not involved. Like I think that so there's some interest. Bryan Danielson, same thing. So there's some interesting folks that are not kind of in this, but not everybody can be going after the world title at the same time either. So that's
it does kind of feel like 1995 WWF, right? And
yes,
that's like the new era, right? Like it is Swerve, Shawn Michaels, and is I don't know if Daniel Garcia was bigger, would he be like, would he be hit Bret Hart? I don't know. That seems like a stretch, but
it's tough to make any comparison to Bret. And Adam just nails it on the head here. I think Joe's believable, and he owns the ring and the mic. He does, man. I mean, he, just his presence. I think he just has a presence about him. And so it almost doesn't matter what he says. Like it's because that presence is there, but he does, say things that just line up really well. I think this is I wrote this on our Substack page in my Dynamite receipt review today. It's like Tony Khan by accident may have stumbled into a world champion here that could really help reestablish like that part of the card just because of who Joe is. You're not building the company around Joe. You're not, Joe, I don't think in 12 months is going to be a guy who's main eventing all of your shows. But for right now, like you may have just fallen into something on accident that just helps establish the prestige of that belt. And that's, sometimes you need a little luck as a promotion, and they may have gotten it here.
I do think like 15 seconds on that. I think it also gives you a roadmap for the babyface version of this with Eddie Kingston in a couple of years if you want to do that, and like you need to kind of jolt it. Like I think just the inverse, but you have Eddie's like a similar character in that way.
Yeah, for sure. Very well said, and a good reminder. Let's go to a WWE question here. At least I think it is a WWE question. I want to. It's another chat from Zach, and Zach says thoughts on the new COO hire and what he could do for the company. Zach, do you mean the ESPN guy being brought in as the head of production for WWE? That's what I'm assuming you meant, but I could be wrong. So definitely
AEW. He's talking about AEW.
Oh yes,
okay. Former WWE employee. AEW hires former WWE regional director of live events as new COO. Let me know if I got that wrong. A day ago from Scoops. A day ago from Wrestling Inc. Yeah.
Okay. Look, I don't even need to know who
they moved on from. Because they moved on from what, Dana, right?
Moved on from Dana, but she wasn't like the COO.
Yeah, but the CEO they did move on, right? The former CEO.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, go
ahead. I don't even need to know who the COO is. I mean, outside of like just some awful person. Like for me to say that it's a bad hire, I think it's a good hire. I think fresh people in AEW right now, like that can take the company from, little engine that could like start up wrestling promotion into soon to be probably near $1 billion, TV company. Like, you gotta bring in the reinforcements and the people that can sustain the company at that level. And so I think it's a good move. And so this person, as long as Tony Khan gives them the bandwidth, just like any other, leader or boss, to do their thing and to execute their vision, like I think it's a really like healthy move for the company at the right time. And I brought up the WWE hire too, the new head of production for Kevin Dunn. I'm equally as excited about that hire too. I mean, it's been a long time, like Tyler, since we've seen like someone else in WWE execute their television vision for that company. And so, like, yeah, could it fall flat on its face? Yes. Do I think he's going to make like grandiose changes instantly? No. But like, just the fact that you have a fresh set of eyes looking at that product for the first time, much like the situation here in AEW, it's good. It's good for a company. It's good for a wrestling promotion. So this gets a thumbs up from me, Zach. Thanks for bringing it up. Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I would check out. Dominic did a good write up in SC Scoops. I just kind of skimmed about the new COO, so I think that is interesting. Good. So I would direct people there after the show, please. But check that out. Yes. Dom's a good writer. So, but yeah, I agree. I mean, just moving out from QT Marshall and friends and family, mom and pop aspect. You got the food truck that turned into the brick and mortar that turned into 2 locations that you're now franchising. That like there's things that you need to change, unfortunately, if you're going to have a business that grows at that pace. So that's just what's going on here.
Yeah, for sure. And that's not a bad thing. Like, it's just not like, that's not a negative, but you got to adjust. You have to adjust. I thought Monday Night Raw this week was, speaking of WWE, was like really a smart show for the Royal Rumble in particular. Like last week we talked about how, hey, we hope that they start, building up some guys and building up some rivalries and some feuds within the match. And man, they came out. I thought they came out hot this week with Drew McIntyre and CM Punk facing off. I thought it was a hell of a promo, like just a really strong piece of business that, took advantage of the freshness between Punk and Drew, like interacting for the first time, while also at the very same time, establishing a story for the Rumble. Punk's going to throw Drew out. I mean, it's a simple story, but like that's out there now. Their like dissension and drama between the two is out there now, and so I thought like I think they need more of that. They need more of that in both matches. Like I think we want to see Drew and Cody, maybe Punk and Cody, in some sort of scenario. On the women's side, like Becky with different folks that she's going to be feuding with potentially in that match. So I thought it was a really good start to Royal Rumble build, and I thought Punk and Drew McIntyre especially were really effective and engaging in that opening segment. What'd you think, Tyler?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I liked it a lot. I think Drew and Swerve, oddly enough, are kind of similar characters at the moment within WWE, or within wrestling. Sorry, yeah, it's interesting, and that's like the pro of me, a big anti CM Punk guy. The pro of using CM Punk in this way is that you establish like interaction with him means you're a top guy, and that like losing to Seth, especially the way he did, he got the WWE protection job. But then like to follow it up, as we talked about with AEW a lot, like to follow it up, and he's in this new angle that is putting a spotlight on him within the Rumble. Is good. It maintains his character, and that's why you do protected finishes like that, so you're not like lowering him in your mind on the card. Yep. I looked up the odds. I think we'll talk about this next week or maybe the week after, because we got 2 flagships for the Rumble. The interesting odds, I would say, for anyone that's interested to look those up on the Rumble. Not the order I would have them. But I think Drew certainly has a dark horse candidacy now based on this interaction and how he's being positioned. And Yeah, like you said, with the women's match, like I'm fully in on the men's match. I only need like 3 or 4 people that I think legitimately can win it to make it pretty interesting. And I think we're certainly there. I think we're in the 5-6 range for the Rumble, and for the women's Rumble, I mean it's like 0 of who I feel good about winning that thing at this point,
Yeah.
and that's also not good. But I would love a story between a couple women like you laid out there, and they have 3 SmackDowns and 2 Raws to do it, right? So I think we can get there, but don't want to leave that out there like WWE's perfect, because that match could essentially not happen, and I don't think it would affect much of anything. It wouldn't affect I don't know, anything of the buildup. Like they could go the whole time, and I'd still like the show, but that's not a place I want to be with WWE with so many talented people. So.
Yeah, it was a good night for them, for sure. I mean, obviously they're down in viewership. They're competing against the college football championship. That's going to be a big thing. But I thought the show was good. Zach with a super chat here. Every time Pepsi Phil speaks, I feel like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. There's going to be dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour, right? Is he going to wrestle or flap his gums? Man, ouch, Zach. Ouch. Coming in hot on that one. He's going to wrestle. He's going to wrestle at the Royal Rumble. He's not going to wrestle before that. I for sure, I'd be shocked if he wrestled before that. I mean, I suppose you could make an argument that this thing with Drew is an avenue to set that up, but I don't think so. I think they want part of the hook of the Rumble to be CM Punk wrestling for the first time on TV.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, he's going to, but no, Zach, not yet. Are they, having their cake and eating it too much here, Tyler? Or, is this a good use of Punk so far? Like, let me just take a step back and reframe that question a bit. This was the first week that I thought he actually, even the promo against Seth was good, but it was very much a Punk's back promo, and the back and forth was rooted in him in being back. This felt more like, an episodic television promo for Punk to have. And that's like his first real wrestling promo since he came back. So they needed to pump the brakes on the I'm back stuff and get to this. If as long as they stay in this lane, I'm good with him not wrestling to the Royal Rumble. Where are you at on that question?
Yeah. I mean, it depends if this is Vince controlling this, I'm more down on this because I don't know where it goes, right? With
Sure.
Levesque, I give him more credence on I do think that he is getting people like Zach Barber, not you, Zach Haydorn, Zach and I to kind of infuriate us as the smart fans on CM Punk, that he's a heel to us and he's a babyface to the WWE universe. For if that transition does happen, that if he does, let's say, screw over Cody and make himself a heel in the Rumble or something, right? Or screws over some whatever. He's not a member of the Bloodline. He does something dastardly at some point and turns heel, which I think we all think is going to happen. Then it's built in, and I don't know if Zach or I are necessarily going to watch more or less WWE as a result, but we'll be hey, told you so. I saw the signs of it, and that's I think booking that Triple H likes to do, of this guy walks like a babyface, but he's certainly talking like a heel and acting like a heel, right? So I think there's a lot of that happening here. And yes, I mean, the whole Sting conversation, I think you totally have with Punk. Sting and Punk, if I'm Tony Khan and they both work for me, I'm having Sting do that bump way before Punk, because Punk's getting hurt. Cole's getting hurt. Whatever. But
that's what I mean, man.
You need him for 3 matches, and don't use him if you don't have to. So I think that's
1,000%. And when you do use him, he doesn't have to. No, he's not doesn't have to wrestle like Darby out there. Deliver a match and you're fine. I totally agree on that. For sure.
Real talk. We're real talk for everyone here, because they all know this, at least subconsciously. An AEW fan expects a lot more out of the talent than a WWE fan does from a in-ring perspective, right? So that's fact, and no one can. Feel free to debate me in the chat here, but a Roman Reigns type run would absolutely not fly within AEW. Like when MJF's doing his thing, we were getting responses of how he never works and why is this guy a big deal, right? Which is the absolute opposite of Roman. I know people have that opinion, but like just the general WWE audience member, the next million compared to Dynamite, like don't really care if the guy works or not on TV. They just want to see him talk and interact with people. That's just the name
Styles
of the game.
are totally different.
Yeah, that's
totally
what Vince perfected. So
yeah, he did, and yeah, like that's you're gonna drive some people away with it for sure, but there's a lot of other people to get out there too, and so yeah, but like that's the thing, and I mean that's why it's like a Punk run in WWE. If things can stay on the good side of if everybody's feelings stay nice and jovial, it's better for Punk long term. He doesn't have to have the type of matches with, Swerve Strickland that he had to have in AEW. Zach is not happy with WWE. Zach, Punk just talks again. We talked about that just now. Gargano was cheating like Colonel Parker in 1994. Boy, you know what? So I wrote a Steve Austin book. You guys hopefully all know that. More details soon about when the actually hard copy book's coming out. It's exciting. It's coming out soon. But Colonel Parker managed Stunning Steve Austin in 1994. And it's the most bizarre pairing. Like, I think a lot of people forget it because it didn't last very long. But, man, Colonel Parker. I watched way too many Colonel Parker matches. But
you really only watched one when you think about it, didn't you?
Yes,
might have watched 100, but
yes, very true. And Jinder and Nia are being pushed. Truth is part of the Judgment Day. Miz is still a face, but Raw was smart. Zach, I feel like that's a shot, like a right hook towards me. No, I'm just kidding. Well, it kind of is, but I'm just kidding. Look, I mean, I still think it was. I mean, look. Gargano cheating was weird, and Gargano still has issues on the main roster. So I'll give you that one for sure. Jinder, like, look, it's a squash match feud for Seth. That's what it is. Like, it's just like Hook, except Jinder's a heel. Like they're out there to. I mean, I think the Hook match is going to be better and more compelling than Jinder because I think he's just more of an interesting character. But they're out there to play the same role. Lose to the champion in a TV match. That's what's happening here. I don't understand why that's like not smart. Like, that's smart to me. Nia, we're gonna fundamentally disagree on Nia Jax, Zach, and others, but like, I mean, she's serving her purpose on the show in a really strong way. She's a different type of wrestler on the women's roster. She gets heat. Like day by day, she's presented as like the immovable object that nobody can beat. Rhea Ripley gets huge pops opposite her. Like, I think that was telling this week, and so I don't get why that's not smart. The truth stuff, silly. Could I do without it? Yes, but I don't. But like, that's part of WWE. They do that stuff, and so I mean, yeah, I feel like I could just easily argue those points. I don't have nearly as big of an issue as you seem to, Zach. But Tyler, break the tie here, baby, or break the argument.
Yeah, I mean, is any of that stuff very good? I mean, I like the true stuff, but I kind of like that aspect of WWE, right? I like the characters are slotted for that. And anytime Truth's on the screen, I definitely stick and don't switch the channel. So that's just me personally. But
yeah, I mean, that's valuable, though. I mean, that's what they want.
Yeah. I would say, like, if Raw's 2 hours, I think you're cutting out, like, Gargano and Miz out of this conversation because they're probably just not featured in a way to fill time. Nia and Jinder are similar to me of, like, they get relative heat and get big wins for the people they're going against. They're both, like, Nia is the Big Show, right, from 15 years ago is how she's being used. And I think that Big Show character was annoying back then as well. But, if Rhea is your John Cena, then it works tremendously well, right, in hindsight. So I think that would be the ideal goal there. And then, so in Jinder, like, I don't know, I'd rather probably Seth not have a match, honestly, than have this at the show. But it literally doesn't matter. And WWE's booked an event to help themselves have a match that doesn't matter at all. So, yeah, I mean, the 3 hours is more the issue. But,
I mean, like, by the time this by the time the Jinder match happens, I mean, like, it's gonna be like a little short little build thing, like like the Shinsuke match was for Cody. That's a little bit longer, but
Yeah.
same idea. Like, it's the same idea. And Jinder from Zach here, Jinder has less than zero credibility. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have much other than like he attacked the champion, and now Seth wants revenge. I mean, that's the essence of the story. It's not a good one, but it's a decent way to like get Seth into a match that he can win and like look strong in. I don't have a problem with that. And then hear from Zach, Nia gets heat because everyone legit hates her. Zach, my friend, I think you got to reread that tweet, man, or that message. Like, yeah, that's heat. That is heat to me. Like, everyone hates her. I mean, isn't that kind of the point? Like, I think that's kind of the idea. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, that's
Tyler.
why you're going to push Kip Sabian so hard in AEW too. So.
Well,
I just haven't gotten a ding on Kip for a long time, so I want to get that in there.
You needed your weekly Kip Sabian attack.
Yeah.
I mean, but Kip Sabian though, like, there's still difference there because he's like what 5'3", and like, I mean, like, he doesn't have, I don't know, the like.
He's bigger than that.
I don't see that.
I'll look at it.
See, now I had to dig on Kip Sabian. I love Tracy's comment here. Tracy, thank you so much, and Zach, thank you too.
He's 5'11" per Google, so
he is. No, yeah. Google's inflating that. Shame on them. Tracy says, "I'm less frail than Punk." I love it. I love that. Yeah, Tracy. I mean, probably are. I mean, Punk is not like. You look at the matches that he had in AEW, like the big ones, the ones that went like 20 minutes plus. He got hurt in all of them, minus the MJF stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's reason to be concerned there for sure. I mean, we're kind of all over the place at this point, but thanks for the comment, Tracy. I definitely appreciate it. Guys, we were gonna wrap up on a topic I promised we would, and it's from Matt, who chimed in earlier in the show, because this weekend is the official rebrand. Impact Wrestling rebrands to TNA once again. And Matt says here, we live in a world where TNA has better belt designs than WWE and AEW. What is happening? Yes. So yes, this weekend, Hard to Kill. We'll have some coverage of some kind, either on YouTube, here on the YouTube channel, or on our Substack of the show. But the belt, they released the new belts yesterday, and they are pretty sharp. I will say that they are pretty sharp belts. I wasn't a fan of the last round of Impact Wrestling belts, but I think these are pretty cool. I'm not really a belt guy, so like I don't harp on it too much, but I think these are cool. And I think it's just a funny comment to call out, Matt. Thank you, Tyler. What do you think? Are you looking at them right now?
Yeah,
we'll
I
talk
that
up on our Twitter feed for you guys as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's the splash of color certainly helps, right? On the all gold,
it does.
If
it really
does. It didn't have the red TNA leather behind it, it would look just like an AEW belt, which is like pretty if you get the high res photo and zoom in on it, but it just looks like a big old chunk of gold. I like the tag titles the best, but I love. I'm more of a belt guy than you are, probably like exponentially. But I love silver and red leather. I think that is like such a clean look. So yeah, it's good. I think the worst belt of all time, and this is like probably its own show. I so hate. I have like a mainstream company. I so hated those like copper Spartan with black leather WWE tag title belts. I think there was
the ones that look like pennies.
Yes, the most god awful belts probably any major promotion's ever had. That were not like individual. Like the Fiend was cool, but like definitely not like a belt. That was a item to purchase. But
I don't know that you can really count that one.
Those are cool, but man, every time it looks like this is topic maybe for next week. Why there's a lot of scuttlebutt about TNA Thursdays. How long is that TV deal? Being a subsidiary of WWE, would they control every night of the week but Wednesday? Very interesting discussion, I think, to save for later. But Alex Shelley being the world champion. I forgot, and that's
Who would have thought?
certainly a choice. I like Alex Shelley, but I think he's a guy you add to an indie show to sell some tickets. But whatever.
If that,
I like it. He's a good worker. He's a good worker. So, but it is
good worker, good guy. I've met him before. And
gray hair.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But yeah, we don't talk too much TNA Impact, so it'd be nice to revisit that topic next week, guys. We will wrap it up there. I want to hit this last one from Zach here. It's Go Away Heat.
It's for Naya or for us. I can't tell.
Or for us, either one. I'm not sure. But I mean, maybe heat is heat. It's hard to get heat in 2024. So, I'm with her on that. But guys, thank you so much. That was an absolute blast. I have a run sheet here of topics, and it's always fun to kind of like mix it up with you guys and have you mix it up back, whether it's in the super chats or the live chat. You guys it's so fun to read, the back and forth there. So thank you for joining us live. If you want to catch us live, we're live every week on Thursday afternoons. So subscribe, hit the notification button so you know when we go live. If you're not able to listen to us live, you can catch this later on the YouTube channel or as a podcast. We simulcast this right back where all podcasts can be found: Apple, Spotify, iHeart, anywhere you want it. It's there. So you can check out the show there too. If you need to take us on the road and take us to the grocery store or wherever, we're right along there with you. Thank you so much to everybody for the super chats today. It's exciting moment for Brass Ring Media, exciting moment for the show, and we're very appreciative, and it can help us. It really helps us grow and helps us continue to turn Brass Ring Media into something that can serve you guys and cover the wrestling business very, very well. Did I miss a super chat? Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm looking for it now. About when did you send it in, Zach? If you can put that on.
Let's see here. You missed my super chat, Zach says. Oh, I have it. I got it right here.
You do? Okay.
Yes, Zach. Apologies. Thank you. Shout out to Toni Storm. Her promo was hysterical last night. We're going to need a Wendy Richter cameo at some point. Zach, I would not put that past Tony Khan. I would not.
With no explanation, literally you, Zach, would get it because I had to look up who that was, if I'm being honest.
I mean, the only one. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past her. But ultimately, like, I agree on Toni Storm. I like what she's doing a lot. I think it's a cool gimmick. And what I like most is that it transitions to the ring, and she talks about winning and losing. She talks about the championship. So,
and on that subject, on like the way out, my wife is always my barometer for like very casual person that's forced to watch wrestling.
Oh yeah.
And like Jade was her number one with a bullet on AEW, and Toni Storm was taking that cake big time now. So it's working on star power transfer. So just for what it's worth. And yes, Zach, I did not know who Wendy Richter was. I know she's a wrestler from the 90s. But
80s too.
But 80s, yeah. So I mean that's definitely a blind spot for me that I need to recover. But
we'll get you some Wendy Richter tips.
There you go.
Guys, thank you. We appreciate it. We'll be back next week. And if you want more, Brass Ring Media on Patreon, patreon.com/Brass Ring Media. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining the show. Tyler, thank you. We'll talk to you all really, really soon. See ya.
Cool. See you guys.